Ah, everybody, good morning. Um, I've been up since 4 o'clock with this thought in my mind that I've been thinking about for a long time, and it woke me up and I just could not go to sleep. So I wanted to share that with you. So for those of you who don't know me, and there's probably a lot of people, my name is Randall Duvall. To give you a little bit of background about me, I came to this country when I was 13, 14 years old. In 1989. It's 2020 right now, so you do the math. I came here to this country with very little understanding of my country's history, South Africa's history, very little understanding of who I was as a person, myself, and almost no understanding of what this country is. It was one of your American leaders that helped me figure things out. And this leader helped me see my country completely, helped me see myself more clearly, and helped me see this country perfectly. And so this leader, I was so impressed by him that I had to understand his people, and his people are the black people of this country, black Americans. And when I refer to black Americans in this video, I'm not referring to recent African immigrants like myself. I'm referring to the people who have been on this land for hundreds of years. So when I say black American, that's who I'm referring to. Right? To make a distinction between recent immigrants, black immigrants to this country like myself. So anyway, as an outsider looking in, as a sojourner in your country, I feel compelled to tell you the truth about your country, at least as far as I can see it. And if you didn't catch that, you need to read a book. So anyway, when I looked at this country's history of black people, I saw that in every war, black people have fought in this country and died in this country, men and women, right? And even before the American War, black people were in this country fighting to make it something or shape it or whatever, right? So black people have fought in every war in this country's history since its inception. But black people in this country have not had full rights as citizens since its inception, right? So I'll look at that and I'm like wondering, what is going on, And then when you look at the human rights evolution in this country, the human rights advancements in this country, civil rights for black people, equal rights for black people, for Hispanic people, for indigenous people, for women, for gay people. Black people have always been on the forefront of that movement. The first abolitionists were not white, they were black, right? But this country's mode of operation is to put a white face on anything that's heroic. That's just how you'll operate over here. So anyway, I look at this, and I'm thinking, why are black people in this country being treated this way? Fought in every war, despite not having equal citizenship, been on the forefront of human rights evolution in this country. What is going on? Why are black people treated this way? And then it occurred to me, black people in this country are the critical consciousness of a corrupt country trying to find correction. That's what black people are. Black people are the moral compass of this country, right? So you think about, when you have a decision to make, right? Your conscience tells you what's right and wrong. You have that voice inside you that speaks to you softly sometimes and speaks to you loudly sometimes, but it speaks to you, right? And when you make the wrong decision, it lets you know. It lets you know that you've gone astray. But when you're not ready to recognize that you've gone astray, you start making excuses about why you made the decision that you made, why you did the thing that you did. You start trying to justify it, even though there's no justification of the wrong thing that you did, right? And so I think that's what's going on in this country. I mean, how else would you justify killing a young boy, Tamir Rice, for doing what all kids do, using his imagination, playing with guns, given this country's history and what you guys put on your media, that's going to fill the imagination of any child in this country. Even as a kid myself, played with toy guns, got to do that in South Africa, got to do that out in public, didn't have to worry about that, being killed by the police in South Africa, playing with guns. But in this country, my son, who is the child of a black woman, my sons, I don't let them play outside with guns because I'm afraid of how they're going to be interpreted, right? But in this country, you'll find excuses to justify the killing of a child, right? In this country, you'll find ways of trying to justify the killing of somebody like Breonna Taylor, a woman, a medic, who was serving her community, right? You'll find a way to justify that. You'll find a way to justify the killing of people, human beings, who are teachers, Philando Castile, right? That's what you'll do in this country. And so you have to ask yourself, why are you doing that? What allows you to justify that? And in this country, you all have created this image of the black person in this country of being less than, right? You've created this image to put over the black face, which is your conscience in this country, your moral compass in this country, to be less than a human being. You've made the black person in this country a nigger, right? But what a conscience is really yourself, right? So when you've created this image of the nigger, which is your conscience, what you've created is a distortion of yourself. And so the black person in this country is not the nigger. The nigger is yourself. It's yourself if you are justifying the killing of children in this country, justifying the killing of unarmed men and women in this country. You're the nigger. And this creation that you've done in this country, that you've put over the face of black people, this distortion that you've created, it's kind of like a funhouse mirror, right? You created it. You created this distortion. And you're creating every reason under the sun not to deal with the history of this country. Even my country, South Africa, which has many, many problems and still has a lot of problems, on a national level, recognize the evil that was done to black people. Right? So there are white people in this world who have the capacity to do that. You have the Germans as well, who are an example. Horrible history, but took time to recognize nationally what their country had done to Jewish people, to gay people, to what they call gypsies, and so on and so forth, right? So what happens then? What happens if you continue to destroy the embodiment of your conscience? Right? What will you be left with? you'll be left with this distorted image of yourself, this nigger that you have created, right? And that will be you. Um, and what is a nigger, right? A nigger is something devoid of humanity. It's a monster of some kind, but that's what you've created, right? But you're really looking at yourself, right? So the consequences are pretty dire for this country. You know, the Roman Empire fell. The only remnants of it now. The Mongolian Empire fell. The only remnants of it now. You know, this empire can fall too. So Black Lives Matter, right? No, they don't matter. In this country, they're essential. In this country, Black lives are important. In this country, Black lives are precious and deserve to be protected because they are the embodiment of this country's conscience. Right? The leader that helped me understand this was a man who had children, who had a wife he never cheated on. Good man. But y'all killed him. Right? You'll kill this man who was a good person. Right? That's what you'll tend to do in this country. You tend to, you know, the Bible says that the prophet shall not be made welcome in his own home, his own town. In this country, you'll kill your prophets. You know, what's the consequence of killing your prophets? What's the consequence of killing your conscience? You can't justify killing a child. You can't justify killing an innocent woman. You can't justify killing an innocent man. There's no justification for that. And every time you try to justify that, you become the moral monster that you created.